Good afternoon to everyone who's joining us. We're just going to give it just another few seconds for people to log on. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to CDTC's New Visions virtual learning series. Today's webinar is titled, What Can Your Regional Planning Agency Do for You? I'm Jen Saponis, Director of Regional Planning at the Capital District Transportation Committee. And today we have two presenters. We have Sandy Miswitz from the Capital District Transportation Committee. She's our Executive Director. And then we have the Executive Director of the Capital District Regional Planning Commission, Marcus Ciglione. So this is a webinar. Your mic is muted. You can see us. We can't see you. If you have any questions, we ask that you hold them till the end, but you can put your questions in the chat, or you can use the Q&A function if you prefer. We'll watch both of them and answer your questions at the end. If you have a question that's better communicated by saying it, by talking, we'll be happy to unmute you if you just raise your hand. If you are AICP, today's webinar has been approved for 1.5 CM credits. If you are a planning or zoning board member and your local government has approved CDTC's webinars and trainings, this can also count towards your training requirements through the Department of State. Some upcoming New Visions webinars in our virtual learning series. Next month on August 16th, we have a webinar on selecting locations for a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, or RRFB as we often call them. And then September 20th is ZEV that's supposed to be 2050, planning tools for electrifying transportation. And September is Drive Electric Month. So we'll be talking about CDTC's efforts to assist communities with shifting to electric vehicles by providing infrastructure and promoting electric transportation in their towns, cities, and villages. The virtual learning series has been running for over a year now, and previous month's webinars can be found on the CDTC website. All of our webinars are recorded and uploaded there, and you can also find New Visions materials like our executive summary or any of the white papers or topic papers that are included in the New Visions plan. So today's agenda, I'm going to give a short introduction and overview of New Visions 2050 and what our Metropolitan Transportation Plan is. And then Sandy will talk about what CDTC does. Mark will talk about what CDRPC does. And then we'll end with a discussion about how CDTC and CDRPC can help your community and open it up for questions and discussion. So one of CDTC's major products is the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We call this New Visions. The most recent version of New Visions is New Visions 2050, and it was adopted in September 2020. New Visions is a blueprint for regional transportation that reflects a shared vision for the future. Its purpose is to guide and prioritize funding and investment decisions for the next 30 years. And it's developed collaboratively between local governments, state agencies, transportation providers like CDTA, as well as the private sector, and of course, members of the public. And you may be wondering what implementation of New Visions look like, or why is New Visions important? A number of significant investments in transportation infrastructure projects that have happened throughout the region are a result of New Visions 2050, including the implementation of Bus Plus, the bus rapid transit, a number of trails throughout the region, the I-87 Exit 3 connector, the replacement of the Rexford Bridge, the Madison Avenue Road diet, and the continued paving and maintenance of I-87, the Northway. And while we've developed a reliable multimodal system, the capital region does anticipate some major changes, possible disruptions, more disruptions like what we saw during COVID, and growing issues of concern that affect our transportation system, which is why the Metropolitan Transportation Plan is a living document. We continue to monitor changes in the region and think ahead and think about the next update to the plan so that we can be nimble and adapt to changes and evolve and keep up, and so that our economy stays competitive and the quality of life is maintained throughout the region. So if you are interested in New Visions, part of the activities that we're doing for implementation is this virtual learning series, but also we offer virtual trainings for planning boards, zoning boards, town boards, or city councils by request. So if you have any questions or would like to request a training, you can email me or find information at our website. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Sandy. We see the presenter mode and your still see now? We still see presenter mode.
Uh-oh. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. How about now?
Yep, good.
All right, sorry about that, folks. So thanks again, Jen. My name is Sandy Mislowitz. I'm the Executive Director of the Capital District Transportation Committee. And today I wanted to share with you some of what we as your Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Capital Region can do for you with respect to transportation planning. So to start with, again, we're regionally, a federally funded transportation policy making and planning organization that serves Albany, Rensselaer, Saratoga, and Schenectady counties, except the town of Monroe and the village of South Glens Falls, which are part of the Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council. In addition to providing planning services and expertise to the region, we also are responsible for allocating federal transportation funds to projects. Our federal funding typically comes from the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration, and our work is guided by a policy board comprised of the 4 counties, the 8 cities, the town of Colony, rotating town and village representatives, as well as state and regional agencies, including NISDOT and CDRPC. Under federal law, as Jen talked about, we're required to develop 3 major projects: the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is called New Visions 2050, the Transportation Improvement Program, which is currently being updated, which is our capital program of transportation projects, and our Unified Planning Work Program. New Visions develops that long-term 20-year vision for the region, and is updated every 5 years, while the TIP is a short-term list of projects, typically showing 4 years worth of federally funded projects. New Visions provides the policy direction to support the development of the TIP, and TIP evaluation criteria are derived from the New Visions plan. The UPWP identifies staff and consultant-led activities that support implementation of New Visions and the development of transportation concepts that could lead to projects funded through the TIP. So of greatest importance to you today is the UPWP, as it lists all of the programs I'll be talking about. Jen gave an overview of New Visions, but here again are the guiding investment principles that are used in allocating funds to both plans and projects. These 15 investment principles influence the work that we undertake in our UPWP, again, staff-led or consultant-led work. Our TIP is currently in development for federal fiscal years 2022 through 2027. Each federal fiscal year begins on October 1st. The draft TIP document and the list of proposed projects are available for public review right now on our website at www.cdtcnpo.org/2022 TIP. And the recently enacted bipartisan infrastructure law brought additional federal transportation funds to CDTC for both TIP projects as well as our planning work. For the TIP, projects have to reflect and support our New Vision's priorities and advance and make progress on meeting regional performance measure targets. The infrastructure law also created numerous discretionary programs which will require all state, regional, and local government entities to submit applications to FHWA and others outside of the normal CDTC and New York State funding processes. CDTC is available to support these applications by offering technical support and data, as you will hear in the coming slides. We also have on our homepage a repository of all of the available grant programs at the federal level that local governments may be interested in, including application information and deadlines. The UPWP is developed annually by CDTC and again assigns planning funds to staff-led as well as consultant-led planning activities in the region. The UPWP is developed through a call for planning projects, which we expect to issue in November of this year for planning project that will be undertaken after April 1st of 2023, which is the start of the next state fiscal year. To get an idea of the types of activities we fund, you can review the document on our website. It also includes project descriptions, budgets, and estimated project schedules. At this point, I'll be walking you through some of CDTC's key planning programs and resources available to local governments. If you don't hear about something you are interested in, ask about it in the chat or reach out to us after the webinar. First up is our linkage program. Our linkage planning program is one of our longest running programs and is a key implementation tool of the New Visions plan. The program funds community-based integrated land use and transportation plans. And since we began back in 2000, we have funded 98 planning studies in 43 local communities. With so many completed plans, we created an interactive project map at which you can see the locations of each study, and you can retrieve additional study information. That's available on our website. We solicit for planning study ideas annually, and we reserve up to $200,000 of federal planning funds for consultant activities. And for the first time this past year, we reduced the local match requirement to 10% of the project cost to encourage new communities that may lack cash or staff resources to apply. A few examples of current linkage plans underway include the Village of Manans land use regulations and zoning update, where we're looking at a strategic section of the Village of Manans, mainly located along Broadway, to update their zoning regulations. We're also working with the City of Rensselaer on a waterfront connectivity study, which is intending to improve bike and ped access to the waterfront just to the north of the Livingston Avenue Bridge. We're also working with the City of Troy on the Federal Street Corridor Study, which is a corridor in the heart of the downtown area of Troy, where they're looking at different transportation concepts to develop a complete street design for a street that really has more of an urban arterial feel rather than a city street. CDTC also offers communities a wide variety of data collection and analysis services and can also provide access to data that communities might not otherwise have access to. Most of the new federal grant applications are data driven, and so these data resources have become increasingly important to CDTC to maintain. We have a variety of count data for motor vehicles as well as bicycle and pedestrian use. We recently purchased eco counters to conduct automated trail use counts, which are available to local governments for their use. We have developed and regularly maintained infrastructure inventories for on-road bike routes and bike infrastructure, along with trails, sidewalk, and crosswalk locations, all of which are mapped using GIS, and we can make that data available to you as well. We can also access and analyze crash data, which I know many communities are interested in given the new federal Safe Streets for All program. And finally, we have contracts with several local governments to collect pavement condition data through a windshield survey method, which is more affordable than some of the other technology-driven methods and gives communities a fairly good sense of where to invest limited paving dollars. Another service we provide is travel demand modeling. We have a computer software package called Visum, which allows us to forecast traffic, develop background growth rates, and analyze development scenarios. We can also look at the impact of a particular development project on the community transportation system, as shown in this example in the town of Colony. The thicker the line on the map, the more trips the development generated and added to the transportation network. We also use the model to analyze the impacts of major projects on travel, as we did recently for NYSDOT when we modeled the traffic impact of closing the Sitterly Road Bridge in Clifton Park during its reconstruction. A new program currently in development is a regional signal timing program. This program will initially focus on locally owned signals, and the idea is to review their timing plans based on current traffic and operations, and update the timing plans to decrease congestion, improve traffic flow, and to improve the efficiency of the transportation system. Local government signal owners are welcome to participate in this process and can reach out to us for more information. The bulk of the work is expected to be undertaken next year, and we're just initiating this program this fall. As part of the WP solicitation, we also asked for concepts to implement the New Visions plan through regional scale planning studies. These are studies that either benefit the region as a whole or can be used as a prototype for other communities. We've had the most success with our Capital Region Trails Plan, which has supported numerous trail planning projects, including the Patroon Greenway feasibility study, and smaller efforts, including the Albany County Loop Trail Assessment and street level connections through our technical assistance program. Other initiatives include the soon to be completed Smart Communities Toolbox, which will give communities ideas as to how to integrate technology into transportation system operations, continued implementation support for the local road safety action plan, and we plan to issue a call for projects that support community ADA transition plan development in 2023. On the smaller end of the scale, CDTC's ongoing Capital Coexist mini grant program provides planning funds to support small scale demonstration projects such as this cycle track in Saratoga Springs. We also provide funding to support law enforcement training and encouragement programs such as bike rodeos for children. These programs create a positive engagement experience for law enforcement, allow them to share information on safe riding, and thereby encourage participants to ride more often. This grant program is capped at about $5,000 per project, and we expect the program to return in 2023. CDTC also provides training opportunities for town boards, city councils, zoning and planning boards, among others, on proactive planning practices that can help local governments create the transportation system for the next generation. As Jen mentioned, participants can earn planning professional development credits in the virtual training series, as well as this webinar series from the American Institute of Certified Planners, and if eligible, from the New York State Department of State. There's a virtual training request form on our New Visions website. And if there are trainings needed locally for these or any other subjects, please let us know, as we may be able to provide resources in the future to support them. Last but certainly not least is our joint technical assistance program with CDRPC. Projects funded through our rolling solicitation, which will remain open until we run out of funding, are generally small scale and short duration. They require a 25% local staff time or in-kind match. You may alternatively use a cash match to meet that requirement. We'll work with potential applicants during a pre-application meeting to understand and define the project before an application is actually submitted. Eligible projects are wide-ranging, including many of the things I've mentioned in this presentation thus far. And all you need to do is ask for that meeting, and we can discuss whether or not the idea is a good fit for the program, or if there's other programs for which the project idea may be better suited. So with that, I will wrap up by saying you can visit our website at www.cdtcnpo.org for additional information on these and many other programs in our available to local governments. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Mark Castiglione. Thanks.
How does that look?
That's great.
Great. Hey, gang. Good to be with you all this afternoon. I'm Mark Castiglione. I'm the Executive Director of the Capital District Regional Planning Commission. And since Sandy's presentation wrapped up on our Joint Technical Assistance Program, I just wanted to give some additional examples and more specific examples of some of the projects that we have completed or have worked on and are continuing to work on. Generally, they fall in the categories that Sandy mentioned: prelude to a comprehensive plan, GIS mapping, corridor planning, and other technical assistance. To date, both agencies have, through the program, directed more than $100,000 worth of effort to local projects, and that's since the start of the program, I believe in 2018, if I'm correct. So feel free to reach out to us formally through the website or informally by just giving us a call about the program. So the question I always ask or get asked is, or like to answer, is how can we help? So that's hopefully what this presentation will provide. Without getting into the weeds on what regional planning councils are, here's a simple map of where they're located in New York State. We are obviously in the capital region, and I dare say the best regional planning council in the state, if not the nation. I might be biased in that. So we were founded by Albany, Rensselaer, Saratoga, and Schenectady counties in 1967. We continue to support a variety of regional initiatives involving economic development, water quality, energy efficiency, and the like, sustainable planning. We help to build regional capacity by assisting and working with a variety of partners, and we also foster partnerships to tackle regional problems. These are the program areas that we work within right now. Each regional planning council has a slightly different focus or foci on things that they work on, but we work on regional analytics and data services, essentially. We are a designated New York State data center, so we are responsible for doing a variety of data analyses throughout the years, including being a partner with the U.S. Census for work related to the decennial census. We are a partner with the New York State DEC and operate a regional water quality program that currently is focusing on source water protection planning. We have a robust economic development portfolio in partnership with the Federal Economic Development Administration, the Northern Border Regional Commission, and other economic development entities locally and statewide. Sustainable communities, our clean energy and climate smart communities programs comprise that sustainable communities portfolio, and under that we provide really helpful hand-holding for local governments looking to lower their collective carbon footprint. And something that was in the fine print when I took the job 5 years ago was that we administer the Regional Juvenile Secure Detention Facility, which is the region's kiddie jail, which is nice. One of the things that we do, often in partnership with CDTC, but independently as well, which is something that they do, is provide training. So in 2021, most of our training was virtual, and we were pleased to engage nearly 700 people participating in our training series. In 2022, this fall, we hope to reprise our in-person training workshop at Hudson Valley Community College towards the end of October, so be on the lookout for a save the date for that. We also are able to provide training for code enforcement officers, really focused on green building and stretch code requirements. We can provide ad hoc technical assistance services. If you give us a call, we might be able to help you out with some data analysis. Again, we're a state data center, so we're able to pull down from the internet or find data that you may need. And that includes municipalities, school districts, libraries, organizations like that. We also provide for, I think, 6 or 7 districts now, school enrollment projections. This is just a slide that shows the variety of recorded content that we have available on our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in seeing previous webinars that we have hosted, those webinars are available on our YouTube channel. So you simply just go to YouTube, type in CDRPC, and you'll get connected with our channel and be blown away by the variety and quality of the content that we provide you. As I mentioned, in our sustainability portfolio, we operate in partnership with NYSERDA, a Clean Energy Communities program. To date, some of these statistics are a little bit low, but we've helped in the entire service area about 140 communities achieve Clean Energy Community designation, and we've helped them achieve about $8 million in match-free grant funding in the entire service area. So we operate a program with partners that covers the North Country, Mohawk Valley, and Hudson Valley, in addition to the Capital District. And that again is direct technical assistance, helping communities access grant funding and adopt policies that help them save money and lower their carbon footprint. The Climate Smart Communities program is a relatively new program that we're directly involved within. Similar to the Clean Energy Communities program, it involves outreach coordinators, and you see a couple of them in the bottom center there, and they are available for this program, like the Clean Energy Communities program, to provide direct technical assistance and planning tools to help communities lower their carbon footprint and save money. One of the big things that we noticed through this outreach and coordinator program is that we're really able to provide the technical expertise, not just to back up grant applications, but also to file them with the state. If your community doesn't know how to operate the grants gateway, we can work with you to actually put in the grant application and deal with the technology. This is a new program. There's also grant money attached to it, and our staff are more than happy to work with you to figure out how we can achieve your goals and get your municipality money for taking climate smart community actions. Water quality, as I mentioned, we're partnered with the DEC. One of the most significant projects that we've worked on in the past couple of years is a source water protection plan for the Watervliet Reservoir and the Tomahawk Reservoir in Rensselaer County. We administer a consortium of communities that include Albany, Cohoes, Rensselaer, Troy, Watervliet, and the Village of Green Island to do a variety of projects that they have to do to remove and reduce the amount of combined sewer overflow that are going into the Hudson River. And that's a really fun project. Pro tip, don't swim in the Hudson River after a rain event. Economic development. We have a lot of stuff in the economic development portfolio, including operating a foreign trade zone in a 13-county area. Foreign trade zone allows businesses to either invert or defer tariffs on imported goods that they may be using in manufacturing operations, so that they can essentially, the foreign trade zone creates a space where the items are not technically imported, therefore don't have to pay the import tax. They only pay tax once after the commodity is used and manufactured and exported out again. So can be a potentially tremendous cost saving tool for private businesses. In our economic development portfolio, as I mentioned, we're partnered with the EDA. We provide direct technical assistance to organizations to go after large federal economic development grants. We provided technical assistance and support to the Port of Albany, a variety of institutions and schools and universities in the Capital District to be able to secure that money. We also perform economic impact analyses. We've partnered with a variety of IDAs and other economic development entities to provide economic impact analyses for projects that support, IDA subsidies and other economic development incentives. We've also done and are pursuing now an update to an economic impact analysis for the University of Albany, just helping to tell the story of how much the university impacts our economy. We are officially designated as a local development district for the purposes of the Northern Border Regional Commission. And if you didn't think that the Capital District was on the northern border of the United States of America, you should have consulted Congress when they designated us as part of the Northern Border Regional Commission area. But the long and the short of it, that makes us eligible for additional money for municipal infrastructure, supply chain studies, broadband. And again, we're your conduit to the Northern Border Regional Commission, and we're lucky enough to help the city of Troy secure $1 million for the Monument Square redevelopment back in 2020. Just back to some of our data nerd stuff here. We do a publication called Data News, and that's really provides an opportunity for us to share a snapshot of how data is changing and how our region is changing. So if you have not already signed up for our newsletter, please do so. We send out a data news piece quarterly. We also make available through our website community fact sheets, which is a snapshot of statistics and data that really helps paint a picture of the demographics and economic statistics of your community. We've developed community growth profiles for each community in the Capital District, and we've worked with a variety of partners to complete a really robust data tool called capitalregionindicators.org. And I'll show you that in a little bit. Some additional data services, we did process all the existing data that's available related to the census. The full census data is not yet available, and we will be proceeding with population projections for the each municipality and each census tract once they make the full census information available from the decennial census. We provide a variety of employment and economic statistics on our website, including the Consumer Price Index and Producer Price Indices. And we developed, as we came out of COVID, an economic recovery dashboard that's also available on our website to show how the region is recovering from the pandemic. So I just quickly wanted to jump out to the interwebs here, if I can do that for a second. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and start sharing my screen again, just to give the folks that have not seen this website yet an introduction to Capital Region Indicators. This was a great partnership. The project was funded through the Capital Region Chamber, the Community Foundation, the Capital District Transportation Committee, CDRPC, and subsidized by the University of Albany, which actually developed this tool. So this tool includes a dashboard including 50 indicators for every county, town, city, village, census tract, block group, school district, zip code in the 4-county and 8-county Capital District. So it's a really robust tool if we want to just take a browse of the city of Albany. This puts the data at people's fingertips. We really hope people will use this tool to write grant applications and to support advocacy. It includes tools where you can compare how data has changed over time, whether things are increasing, getting better, getting worse. I won't belabor the data and the visualizations that are here, but I will say you can save this image if you want to. And embed it directly into reports that you may have to use. You can navigate directly to an individual block group and bring up the dashboard for the block group if you want to compare neighborhoods, how similar or different they are, and the information about the neighborhoods. The things that we added this year are the school districts and the zip codes. So those can be found here if you know what zip code you're in. And similar to the school districts, if you know what school district you're in, you can find a similar dashboard there. So we figure it's a robust tool that really helps people understand and get connected to the data that they would need. If there are any questions about data, you can always give us a call because we're available to help. If we can't provide it for you, chances are we know who can get it for you. There's also a robust mapping feature in the tool. And I won't go over this, but it's a really cool mapping tool that enables people to figure out, how things are changing over time and which communities and how communities are different or similar in the region. And I'm just going to, again, share my screen for the remainder of this compelling presentation. I just talked about the indicators, and that's my contact information. So I really didn't need to share the screen again, but I'm glad I was able to do it.
Thanks, Mark. Okay. Okay. So we have some questions for Sandy and Mark. How can CDTC and CDRPC help me? So some examples of issues that local towns and cities may be facing and how those kind of fit into specific CDTC and CDRPC programs, resources, tools, or any other type of assistance. So I'm the mayor of a small rural village. We have quite a bit of large, vacant, but developable land right in our village center. There's a lot of ideas about what could be done with it or what it should be to benefit current and future residents, but we really don't have a good handle on what's realistic and sustainable. A surrounding town is facing development pressures and we want to be prepared, but can our existing infrastructure and services support new residential or commercial development? What do you recommend?
Well, I guess I'll start off. One of the things that we can do is offer, if they're mainly concerned with sort of traffic and transportation issues, we can do some scenario planning in our regional travel demand model. We can also perhaps assist with some additional studies. Maybe that could be on the scale of a linkage study where you coordinate with the neighboring community to look at growth and development and potential impacts and what the transportation system might look like. We could even just run some basic numbers just to see from a technical assistance perspective what the impact of future growth might be just on traffic volume data. So there's sort of a range of things that on the transportation side we can do, and I'll let Mark talk about some of the other aspects.
Sure. I think one of the things that both of our agencies like to do is to build on previous work and to be a catalyst to help communities get where they want to be. And oftentimes that starts small. So that's why we created the Technical Assistance Program, because that really covers a lot of the initial work that a town would need to do as a prelude to a comprehensive planning process, an economic development process, and the like. So once you have that information, we're able to provide it to you, then you're better positioned to go after a grant application or other funding or a linkage study, which is more substantial depending on what you want to do. But that initial work and the initial feedback that we can give you is going to put you on that path. And that's the thing we like to see. So as projects evolve, if our initial work identifies some opportunities for economic development projects or additional work, then we're able to connect you with other larger grant opportunities, either for water infrastructure or economic development grants at the federal level through the Northern Border Regional Commission or the EDA. So if you have folks that are interested in projects but not sure where to start, it's a good idea to give us a call, and we'll be able to help you navigate and sort of envision how to get from A to B to C to D, and et cetera, et cetera. Additionally, our staff just on a very small scale, can provide a variety of GIS analyses of land use conditions, of other considerations, particularly as it relates to the siting of solar and other more sustainable energy generating operations in your municipality. The bottom line is, if we can't help you out, we know who can, and that's really why our agencies are so important and can be so helpful to municipalities.
Great. Okay, another scenario is our town's Main Street is also a state route. We want to plant trees and build sidewalks, but we don't own the road. How do we move forward with our vision?
Well, similar to what Mark indicated, we can start with something small, like a technical assistance program, just to flesh out what's there and what you're looking to do. If it evolves into the need for a larger planning study, maybe it's a complete streets type study, we could work with you to apply for linkage funds. And if awarded, the State Department of Transportation would generally submit a letter of support to say that they're okay with having that planning study look at that particular roadway. We've had a lot of success working with communities on developing visions for corridors in that scenario through the linkage program. As I said earlier, we'll be continuing support for that program down the road. But even without that, the technical assistance program can at least point you to some other resources if linkage funds aren't available or if the timing doesn't quite fit what's going on in the community. And finally, the only other item I would mention is development mitigation. We have a lot of communities who are working with developers to provide mitigation opportunities that could be in the form of funds to support some of the design and planning work that we're talking about. That could be in the form of future easements for sidewalk work or other types of infrastructure. So there's multiple ways that we can help.
Okay. So in this scenario, a town wants to install an electric vehicle charging station at town hall. They have heard about other towns doing this, but don't know where to start. Does the site we have picked out at town hall make sense? Are there any incentives or funding programs that can help us? Where do we go next?
Well, our clean energy community coordinators and climate smart community coordinators can help you navigate the funding and help you put in grant applications that essentially would make that charging station free. Right now, there's a ZEV program, grant program, the DEC is administering, and our outreach coordinators have been very successful helping municipalities get grants. And there's also a matching program, which can be used to match the ZEV program from the DEC that's being offered by National Grid. So they're very familiar with how to package those two grant programs together to really result in a cost-free charging station for your municipality. They also are connected with a variety of approved contractors who'd be able to come out and give you price cost estimates needed to file those grant applications as well.
I'll just mention at the New York State level, we're developing statewide a national electric vehicle infrastructure plan. Basically, that's going to support the national corridors for electric vehicle infrastructure. So if your town hall in this example is within a 1 mile driving distance of an interstate interchange, it may be eligible for funding through this NEVI program, as the acronym says. That funding should be available in the next year or so.
Okay. So another scenario is the town's experiencing an increase in flooding events after rainstorms. Several roads have been damaged, and each storm seems to bring them closer to having to shut down one of their major arterials, but they don't know where to direct traffic to, how to determine the best and safe detour route. How are other towns handling these increasing flood events and issues in the region?
Well, I mean, I'll start off, we at CDTC, we've been gathering information on the plans communities have developed for resiliency and for infrastructure planning. We're gathering more and more data as these events become more frequent. We'll be looking forward to working with local government partners on developing some resiliency plans for the region for the transportation system. I think there's more work that Mark can talk about from the CDRPC side.
Sure, and I think CDTC can also help you figure out where best to reroute the traffic in those scenarios. But we can help.
Correct.
From a longer term perspective, figure out ways to better manage stormwater with our partnership with the DEC and best practices that we can share. We can take a look at your community. We can take a look at your zoning ordinance, do a zoning ordinance audit to figure out, are there any things that we can do to mitigate future stormwater events and localized flooding. We can also connect you with grants that help communities do better planning and build out some infrastructure that help mitigate the impacts of heavy rain events and stormwater flooding.
Great. So this city released its bike and ped master plan in the early 2010s, and they've been implementing it ever since, but now more and more residents and visitors are using electric bikes and scooters and other electric mobility devices that didn't exist then. Their traffic engineers unsure whether the devices should be where they should be riding, and if the city needs to be changing their approach to design as they continue to implement the plan. Is there anything that they can do to work with CDTC or CDRPC to update the plan or address these concerns?
Yeah, I think, there's some material available on electric vehicle or bicycle, I should say, infrastructure from NYSAMPO. Jen, I don't know if you have that link available for the chat, but there's a resource on the New York State Association of NPOs that talks about those sort of the laws and policies with respect to regulating electric bikes as that issue is increasing throughout the state and region.
And certainly it might be one of those, either a TIP project or a technical assistance project to take a look at very specific policy recommendations related to electric vehicles, the scooters and other things. I saw somebody absolutely get folded on an electric scooter when I was traveling recently. So it's not just a cool way to get around. There's also very significant concerns of how they interact with the pedestrian and vehicle environment. So something we can help you out with.
Yes, great. And I did put a link to NYSAMPO's electric assist bike fact sheet in the chat. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to use the chat or the Q&A and we'll get to them. We just have a couple more minutes, so we'll go through a couple more scenarios. So if I'm a city planner and interested in the Safe Streets for All grant program that was announced by the Biden administration, how do I know if my project is eligible and where do I get the information I need?
So the Safe Streets for All program, one of the stipulations is if you're going for implementation funds for projects, so more capital funds, you need to have a plan. Some kind of a safety plan in place. And because we were fortunate here at CDTC to have produced the local road safety action plan, we posted on our website the self-certification form that's needed for local government to qualify to access those implementation funds. So we're happy that the basic qualifications have been met by our local road safety action plan, but we here at CDTC and perhaps in the region, you may want to go after some supplemental planning funds. And if you're interested in doing that, we can either provide you some resources related to crash data, related to policy from our local road safety action plan, to identify where gaps in some of that planning work may need to be filled, and can offer assistance in that way.
All right, and last scenario is there's a town that relies on their neighboring town for water and sewer services. They're growing, but the town that they rely on is not currently growing. It was recommended in a previous study that they develop a GEIS to help fund their own water and sewer system. The town keeps hiking their rates every year, and they've been told it's going to go up again next year. Do you have any suggestions for what they should do next? They don't have a lot of staff. Are there any other models for communities that have used GIS to help support infrastructure in the region?
Move out of state. My suggestion. It's too many municipalities. New York State. Too difficult to get them to work together. In all seriousness, this is a scenario that came up in one of our technical assistance projects, and it was a matter of getting people around the same table to, one, define the problem, and then identify solutions that would be workable on both sides. Oftentimes, it's just these are situations that are created by people not being on the same page or not understanding, what the real problems are. And if we can sort of take an objective perspective on things, and that's really something that CDTC and CDRPC can do really well, is be an honest broker and to come in and be an unbiased party in some of these discussions to figure out how we can make things like this more reasonable. Obviously, having access to potable water can be a significant development constraint. So we want to make sure that communities are working in lockstep to make sure that they have the resources that they need, and growth is not outpacing the resources that are finite.
All right. So we'll give folks another minute if they have any questions. Please look at the chat for a link to the Capital Region Indicators website that Mark mentioned, to the e-bike fact sheet, and to the bipartisan infrastructure webpage that CDTC has developed. I don't see any questions or hands raised. So as mentioned earlier, CDTC hosts the virtual learning series on a monthly basis. Our next webinar is scheduled for August 16th, and it will be on identifying locations for rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So if you're interested in pedestrian safety or currently doing pedestrian planning, it might be a great webinar for you. In the meantime, you can reach out to us at cdtc@cdcmpo.org. You could also give us a call, and you can also find us on social media. This webinar has been recorded and will be uploaded to the CDTC YouTube channel along with all of our other previous webinars. Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Mark, for all the great information today. And we hope to see everyone again in August. Have a great week.
Thanks, everybody.